After years of waiting, the brand new Halo game is coming out this year, Halo Infinite. I am excited. Last weekend, 29th of July to 2nd of August, 343 Industries, the creators of the game, held a technical preview for the game for a few selected people they call Halo Insiders. I was lucky enough to be chosen for this preview on my new Xbox Series S, and I got to play the game for a few days. At this point I have to tell you, the game seems great, seriously great. In this video I will get down to some detail on why I feel this way, but in my personal opinion, Halo is in good hands. A few points to mention at the very beginning. I played the game on the Xbox, though the preview was also out on PC, but I was not chosen for the PC preview. The game is coming out in the last quarter of this year and it will come out on the Xbox and PC. The multiplayer will be free to play and the campaign will be sold separately. During the tech preview, some people found some files within the game folder which contained some story spoilers for the campaign. Thus far I have been able to not be spoiled and I will not be spoiling you in this video. If you do find this information, I beg of you, do not spoil the story to anyone. It seriously sucks and no one deserves to go through that. Alright, let's get down to it. What was the Halo Infinite July tech preview like? Alright, first things first, getting into the preview. The preview was set to begin on July 29th, but at that point the people over at 343 Industries met an issue during which they had to restart all their servers and the beginning was pushed back. This was just the first step in this hell the insiders had to go through to get into the game. Before I begin my rant, I want to mention that the devs at 343 are in no way responsible for this, and I hold absolutely no grudge against them. Notice that this was called a tech preview, not a beta, not an alpha. A preview. The point was to see how the technology of the game, the matchmaking and the servers would work. We were expecting issues and everything went well by the end of it. So alright, let's get down to it. In Finnish time, the preview was set to start at 10 PM, which is exactly when I got off work. I cycled home, excited to get to play the new Halo game, and when I got home somewhere around 10:30 PM, I found nothing. Nothing had happened. I stayed up for about an hour following the discussion on Twitter. 343 ran into some issues with the preview and that pushed the beginning back. I decided to go to sleep, ready to play in the morning. To no one's surprise, I hardly slept. Every other minute I checked my phone and Twitter waiting for the preview to start. Finally, I woke up at 4 AM, got up to check Twitter, and finally the preview began. Only 6 hours after the scheduled start. What us insiders had to do to get to the game was to install another app on our Xboxes, called Xbox Insider Hub. On this app we were supposed to join the Halo Infinite flight, and once the app verified you to be an insider, the app gave you the install link for the preview. Sounds like it'd work. The issue though, a lot of people, thousands of people accessing the same website at the same time, especially on an app like the Xbox Insider Hub that is not built for thousands of people accessing it at once. So yeah, they broke the internet. Welcome to the pending hell. I entered the Xbox Insider Hub somewhere around 4 AM and I stared at the spinning ring for hours. I went to the gym at one point and when I came back, still pending. Finally, at 12 AM it went through and I got to install the build. The preview lasted from Friday to Monday, and during it you could play the multiplayer at all times. Sadly, the only game mode available was a 4v4 arena of players versus bots. For 2 hours at the end of the preview, 343 enabled a PvP mode, but unfortunately I was asleep during that time and didn't get to play it. On the first day, there was only one map available, and as the weekend progressed, 2 more maps were unveiled, and the difficulty level of the bots was ramped up as well. My first reaction to only playing bots was slightly disappointed, but the bots were very well executed. They actually kicked my ass a few times. Nevertheless, all the matches I played ended up in a landslide victory. The build also entailed a battle pass that cost a little bit of in-game currency, of which quite a lot was provided to all insiders, and the amount the battle pass cost was so small that it was basically free. Sadly, the only way to progress the pass was through daily and weekly challenges, and some of these challenges were for game modes that were not present in the build. From the battle pass you could unlock customization items, of which there were a few present in the build. I love playing with the customization. Once the system is filled to the brim with armor pieces and colors, I believe it will be a great and expanded system to play around with. In addition to the game mode against bots, the build had something called the Academy, in which you got to try out all the weapons. I hope this will be present at the final game. It was an excellent way to get familiar with the weapons. And speaking of the weapons, The guns feel and sound amazing. The automatic weapons have a strong punch where it is difficult to keep them under control. The precision weapons have a satisfying crunch and they are very precise. The explosive are large and powerful. I can't tell you how many times I died to grenades. My absolute favorite weapons were the sidearm, the assault rifle, the commando, the battle rifle, the gravity hammer, and the good old needler. They nailed all these guns in my opinion, with some small changes that instead of angering me and confusing me, an old Halo fan, I felt refreshed. I needed to rethink a few strategies, and I welcome this. I look forward to learning this game through and through. The gravity hammer has a very slow wind down into the strike that gives the weapon a little more strategy, not just hitting whatever moves. You have to get ready and hit the attack button a little bit earlier than you had before. If you hit it too late, the enemy has time to dodge past you or kill you before you have time to strike them. The sidearm pistol is so much faster than the pistol in Halo 5, where you had a clear rhythm of headshots you must execute. But here, the gun fires quickly, and getting a clean streak of headshots is harder to pull off. The battle rifle is very similar to the old school one from Halo 2, and it feels great. The commando is a beautiful addition to the weapon roster. It is a cross of the good old AR and the DMR of Reach. It works well for longer distances and also in close quarters. I worry this one might be a little bit overpowered in the right hands. There was something off with the snipers this time though. I have never been good with them in the first place, but during the preview I only hit a few shots, and according to Twitter the snipers were the worst part of the build. There was a new sniper in the game called the Skewer. It did feel pretty much the exact same purpose as the normal sniper, but reloading it takes a really long time. I believe the Skewer is a one-hit kill, no matter where on the body one hits. I cannot say if this fits into the meta of Halo, but we'll see. Something I'd love to see added to the final build is that Skewer impaling people into walls like in Fear. That'd be awesome. One interesting change to Needler is the fact that its reload time varies. If you reload the gun when half full, the reload time is much shorter than when reloading an empty Needler. Adds a bit more strategy. At this point, against the bots, it truly felt like both assault weapons and precision weapons were both equally viable to be used in a fight. So players can choose which one they want to use and not be forced to use one or the other. In Halo 5, you were basically forced to use your pistol as it was much stronger than your assault rifle. I hope this aspect will remain in the final product. The more choice, the better. And the melee has been buffed as well. The range is huge, maybe too huge, and the damage is really high. One sad thing that was taken out of the game are assassinations. I hope they will be added later. I always saw them as a high risk, high reward system, where if you take the time for the animation, you get some more XP and a nice medal. Not to even mention the awesome animations. On top of the guns, items are back to Halo. I believe they were last used in Halo 3. We have deployable shields and a sensor beam. Active camo and overshield have been turned into these items as well, so you can choose when to use them instead of them being activated immediately after picking it up. This adds a little more strategy again. If you get killed before using the item, it drops, so now your enemy gets the overshield. I love this very simple addition. It adds a lot more depth to the meta. Another thing that has been reworked since Halo 5 is the movement. The dash, the short hover time while aiming in the air, and the spot and smash are all gone, and all that is left is the sprint and a slide. Simplifying the movement is very welcome to many players who really did not like the change in the movement meta in Halo 5. I personally always love more movement options, but sometimes less is better. All the maps present in the preview work very well with the simple movement options. Never did it feel like it took too long to move from one point of the map to another. The sprint itself has been nerfed greatly. The speed boost you get from sprinting is so low that it doesn't affect the meta greatly. It doesn't really matter whether you sprint or not. The speeds are quite similar. The slide can be triggered by crouching while sprinting, and you can link the slide with a jump to move faster. This is exactly the kind of skill-based movement I feel is important to multiplayer shooters and their longevity. I also fell in love with the presentation of the game. The guns, maps, armors and colors of the game look fantastic. Red versus blue is gone, and though that feels weird, it is an important change. A lot of people couldn't get into Halo because of color blindness. They could not see their enemy against the background. You can actually change the color of the enemy team, it doesn't have to be red. I love seeing your fire team on the lobby screen just chilling, and the intro to matches introduces the team beautifully, and I love this little zoom to your spot as the match starts. Seriously good stuff. As mentioned, the maps work well with the movement options. There were 3 maps in the build: Live Fire, Recharge, and Bazaar. I liked all 3. After a few matches you start to learn the layout of the maps, and moving from place to place comes naturally. I seriously like the maps. All of them have been built smartly with verticality in mind as well as horizontality. This creates a lot more area for the maps without having to build them too large. You can always go to lower parts of the maps by jumping, or you can go up from below with a grappling hook. The grappling hook is a magnificent addition to the game in my opinion, and since the levels are small enough you can whip from end to end in mere seconds. I love it, and it feels so good. My favorite map from the 3 was Recharge. I loved playing with the grappling hook and the gravity hammer together, for obvious reasons. The build was 1 month old according to 343, and thus it was full of bugs and glitches, and that was completely expected. This was the point of this preview, for the devs to find more issues in the game and to test how the servers and their technology works. At the beginning of the preview the servers were working a lot weaker. There was some stuttering with the frame rate and some animations were stuttering. At the beginning, whenever I opened the menu, the textures were flashing, but this disappeared quickly. I was thrown out of a few matches and sometimes matchmaking took a really long time. On top of this, I hardly had any other issues with the build. Honestly, the game worked really well. I ran into a few glitches, but these were hardly ever game breaking or even affecting the game. Once I threw down a deployable drop shield, but no shield ever came out. One silly bug I noticed at the end of every match was the game shows your stats for the match you just played, and it shows you in what stats you did better than usual. However, the death counter mentions that you beat your usual as a positive when you die more during a match than usual. I wrote a list of the glitches and bugs I encountered, and I will send my findings to 343 as is my job as an insider. As I said, I feel Halo is in good hands. After getting to play just a little bit of the game, just 1 mode in 3 maps, I cannot wait for the final product. With much more modes, much more customization options, and new battle passes, and more weapons, and oh my, this game's going to be good. I apologize, I sound like a fanboy. After the huge delay the game suffered, I was scared, but to see the direction the game has taken, I am so happy. The delay was definitely the right choice, and I cannot believe the multiplayer will be completely free to play. Now that's all from me. If you noticed something I didn't, or if you want to discuss the game, feel free to comment. And I want to say once more that I played the game on the Xbox. I understand there was a completely different experience for people on the PC, but I can't say much on that since I don't have experience about that. Thank you so much for watching, and see you later.